Hi there, and welcome to my Itty Bitty Chapel. My name is Patty Chaffee, and I'm the community minister at Niantic Community Church. I'm also a spiritual director and an expressive arts facilitator. The Itty Bitty Chapel is a few moments offered midweek to relax, refresh, and reflect on a spiritual word or phrase. It's usually filmed in or near a sacred space within my home called the Itty Bitty Chapel, and our candle here is lit to remind us of the presence of Spirit within and around us. I invite you to pause the video now if you'd like to light a candle in your sacred space. Our word for reflection today is sacred. Alone in moments of prayer or meditation, or simply in stillness, we breathe more deeply, see more fully, hear more keenly, we notice more, and in the process, we return to what is sacred. Author Katrina Kennison. One of my great joys in life is to create a collage. And recently I had been feeling like I've been bombarded in every direction with less than light-filled experiences from what felt like less than light-filled people in my life. Circumstances and situations rearing their ugly heads, prompting me to get out my scissors, glue, pictures, and poster board. Usually when I feel called to do collage work, it is bright and sunny and filled with hope and affirmation and glorious direction, and is reflective of all that is good and right in my world, now or the way I'd like it to be. There's usually at least one rainbow, a unicorn, a pot of whales, Jesus, sometimes Mary, and always affirming and healing, words and images. I have a supply of those clipped from mailings, catalogs, magazines, both at home and in my office at church, and often invite program participants to join me in collage work of their own. But for reasons beyond my understanding, I felt called to create this latest collage just as our Holy Week was beginning. And not a sunshiny unicorn and rainbows collage, but a dark one that represented some of the yuck going on around me. I wanted it to reflect some of the stuff that needed healing. Although I did restrain myself, there is one little rainbow on it. Always a sign of hope. I worked alone and in silence for hours, and in the process of creating, a process that inevitably brings me to a deeper place, I knew I needed to immerse myself in how I was feeling about the different situations being presented. I really needed to embrace how I was feeling. In that silence, as the words and images came together, a story was revealed and a sacredness unfolded. When I began, I did not expect to find something sacred. I was putting all this yuck on the board, right? I did not expect to see light in this darkened space. And upon reflection, what I discovered was that even in this representational conglomeration of people and things giving me a hard time, there was not one thing that troubled me that did not also hold the light. One little cluster of letters spoke such beautiful insight. It read, "Everything is sacred. Everything is sacred." I don't know how that got on there because that wasn't how I was feeling when I was in my creative zone, but there it was. These things tend to take on a life of their own when we're willing to get out of the way and let God do what God does. Teach and heal in unique ways that make sense for each one of us and in God's perfect time. Brene Brown wrote, I believe that owning our worthiness is the act of acknowledging that we are sacred. We are sacred. Perhaps embracing vulnerability and overcoming numbing is ultimately about the care and feeding of our spirits. This week, many of us have Jesus on our minds, and maybe the care and feeding of our spirits. In her book, 7 Sacred Pauses, Living Mindfully Through the Hours of the Day, Sister Macrina Whitaker writes, "When I pray the Gospels, it is clear that Jesus had a rhythm of prayer in his life. He lived mindfully. He takes time for solitude at critical moments in his life. He goes away at significant times of the day, sometimes spends the whole night in prayer. He seeks out lonely places where he can be silent and in communion with God. Often he slips away at crucial times of strife or moments when decisions need to be made. Yet he always returns to his ministry of compassion and love among the people." During this most sacred of weeks, think about the ways you might seek out the sacredness in areas you might not usually find it. Consider this mystery. Might you carve out some time for solitude in a place different from your own to take a sacred pause? Consider experiencing some form of creative expression to tap into a deeper knowing. I keep you in prayer every day of this very sacred life. Remember to make time for stillness and solitude. Breathe deeply, see more fully, hear more keenly, and in the process, return to the sacred. If this message spoke to you in some way, feel free to share it with others. And until next time, may God bless you in every way you need. Namaste.